I am very excited to be able to welcome to the program today, speaker, professor, and author of Ida Be the Queen, Michelle Duster. Welcome to the Damage Report.
Thanks for having me, John.
Glad to have you here. So we can show everyone the book, which came out just last week. And I would love to hear more about the life of her, your own familial connection. So tell me about the process of launching into the writing of this book.
Right, so my book, Ida Be the Queen, is about the life and legacy of my great-grandmother, Ida B. Wells. She was a journalist, a civil rights activist, a suffragist. She was one of the founders of the NAACP, the National Association of Colored Women's Clubs, the Negro Fellowship League. Her resume is awe-inspiring. And on top of all of that, she was a wife and mother.
Yeah, her life was absolutely fascinating. She did amazing, courageous work at constant threat to her own life. And obviously there have been books written about her. She obviously, I mean, I'm not telling you, I'm telling you, but she worked on her own autobiography. She's been immortalized in film and all of that. But you obviously have a connection, being that you are descendant from her. How does that affect the writing of a book about her?
Well, in writing Ida Be the Queen, I could reflect on my own experience growing up in the family where I knew my whole life that I was related to her. But I also wanted to help people understand how the work and legacy of my great-grandmother still makes a difference today. Some of the work that she was doing is still continuing with several movements and activists and politicians to this day.
Yeah, exactly. It's obviously there have been changes. It is perhaps somewhat depressing to reflect on some of the same struggles going on. Hypothetically, what do you think she would think of the current state of things and what's still being fought over?
Well, hypothetically, I think my great-grandmother that I wrote about in Ida Be the Queen would have a mixed feelings about what's happening today. I'm sure she would be thrilled to see Kamala Harris elected and inaugurated into the vice presidential position, to see the 117th Congress with so many women elected. But then at the same time, we're still dealing with some racial and social problems that need to be solved.
Definitely. When you were doing, as you mentioned, you grew up knowing that you're related to her. Obviously, you must have done a lot of research for the writing for this. What were you most surprised by in your research into her life?
When I was researching for Ida Be the Queen, what I was most surprised about, I shouldn't have been surprised, but I still was, that she was surveilled by the FBI. She was controversial during her time, and to see in black and white in print that she was considered dangerous to the point where she needed to be watched by the United States government, that was a little surprising, and it sort of reiterated to me how powerful she really was.
Yeah, I guess, considering many of the prominent African American activists and pastors and political leaders who were investigated, I guess on some level it's not perhaps that surprising, but she was doing journalistic work on lynchings and trying to pursue justice. The idea that she would be considered some sort of threat individually seems like very perverse, looking back on that time and all that she tried to accomplish. That she was fighting for women's right to vote. What is so inherently dangerous about that?
Well, my great-grandmother, Ida B. Wells, and I wrote about this in Ida Be the Queen. The reason that the Secret Service, she called them Secret Service, they were FBI agents, came to her place of work was because she was protesting the United States government from killing their own soldiers during World War II, during World War I. So they considered her to be criticizing the government during the war. And that's why they consider her to be dangerous.
Wow. Well, obviously, anyone reading the book is going to learn a lot about her. And as you said, much of her work and her legacy is still very applicable today. If there was one lesson that a modern population, perhaps who isn't taught as much in school about her as they perhaps should be, what lesson would you want people to draw from her life and experience?
One lesson that I would like people to know that I wrote about in Ida the Queen is how one person can make a difference. And they can use journalism as a form of activism. They can use truth telling and challenge the power structure. They can organize, and there are a myriad of ways that she used to affect change and make a difference when it comes to laws and policies.
Exactly. So much so that very justifiably people should be learning about her life, getting on towards a century later. The book is Ida B. the Queen, The Extraordinary Life and Legacy of Ida B. Wells. Michelle Duster, thank you so much for revealing the history of your family and for joining us on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.